Okay, here's the words. X height is the middle height for like lowercase letters. Ascender, that is the ascent, meaning going up. It's the height of the tall parts of letters. And the descender is the distance for things that descend down below the baseline. So here's the baseline, X height, ascender, and descender, and I'll show you how to figure those out. All right, so I'm going to, and it changes with different nibs, so I'll show you how to find it proportionally. Now, whenever you're making guidelines, you've always got to be using an 8H or 6H pencil, and those are harder leads and they're easier to erase. So this India ink will ruin your clothes, so we have aprons for that, and you're free to grab one whenever you want to. All right, so here's my baseline, let's say. Okay. Next, to find my X height, which is the height of a lowercase letter, like an A or a C, I'm going to experiment and try to make a square. Okay? Now, there's a difference between a square and a rectangle. That's a rectangle. That's not going to give you the right proportion. You want a square. You need an X height often that is about 4. So I try to make squares and touch each other like a checkerboard. If I get 4 proper squares, all right, that is usually the X height. Some alphabets will take 5 of these, but generally we use 4. Okay, now I know the height of my X height. Okay. Now I need to find the height of an ascender that's in proportion to the nib I'm using. Now I need three squares. 1, 2, try to make it as square as you can, and 3. And that's how tall an alphabet will be if it has like an ascending element such as the line on a B or a D. All right, now I'm going to make my descender, and it's 3 also, 3 boxes. 1, 2, make sure it's as square as you can get it. Okay, there you go. 3, that's 3 squares. That'll be my descender dimension, and you're gonna notice it's gonna be the same as the ascender. This is gonna keep your alphabet in proportion. So you can always grab a little piece of scratch paper and copy down these dimensions for yourself and have a little bit of a little portable ruler for yourself, okay? So then you could bring these dimensions over to the other side of your paper and record them. So I would put those dimensions on the left side of the paper and over on the right side of the paper and connect them. I can see I was a little off there. And my ink is a little wet, so I have to be a little forgiving with it. Now after my ink is dry, really dry, I can erase my pencil lines, and that'll be good. It will look professional. And that's why I'm using that light colored pencil. Okay, now I've got the right, this should be the correct scale and proportion for this particular nib. And let's see. Good, okay. For the letter B, it would come down, height, B. And if I wanted to do a letter G, I'd be looking at something like, need a dip. All right, so that's proportionally kind of what you're shooting for there. And I know that if I was going to put another line in, I wouldn't want it running into itself, right? So I'd give myself probably about 2 nibs, and then I'd start a whole nother line. All right, so we can do calligraphy in beautiful circular format. Let me show you how to set up your paper. Also, when we do these, it's really fun to take the middle and do a neat design inside of the middle. Notice that this has been done with very light lines using an 8H pencil. And you're going to need a compass and a ruler. Okay, here's how. Number 1, here's how we always find the center of any square or rectangle, whether it's paper or even the floor of your bedroom. If it's a square or rectangle, you can go from extreme corner to extreme corner. Remember to draw light. I'm going to draw dark so you can see me in the video, but you should draw just light enough for yourself to see. Okay? So here I have got a center. Okay? I've connected my corners. I have a center. A lot of times if I'm working with a compass, it's a nice idea to put scratch paper underneath it so that my compass needle has a place to fit. Okay, so I've got a little sharp tip. I've got a pencil. I can extend my pencil longer or shorter. I generally like it to be about the same height as the needle. I'm going to put the point down into the paper, and the only place I hold the compass is the top. I'm using the pressure from my thumb down to the metal point, and that is how I move it. And it might feel awkward at first, but you can get used to it and you can make small movements. Students tend to hold both sides, and when they do, they inadvertently stretch it and then they lose their circle. All right, so here we go. Let's take our center point that we have created. I'm going to put the extreme edge of the ruler onto the extreme center, and I'm going to come out 1 inch and then a half of 1 inch. Okay? The long line behind the 1 is 1, and then a half inch is next. All right, now I'm going to come over and I'm going to take the pencil part of my compass assembly, and I'm going to slowly build that circle. All right, it might take a few movements, and that's totally fine. Okay, now I have a circle, and I'm going to go back to that initial X height, ascender and descender that I came up with, and I'm going to put my bottom of my descender on that circle, and I'm going to record these heights. Okay, here's my descender line, my X height, here's the descender, X height, and here's the ascender. All right, I got those heights. I'll come back to my absolute center. I'm going to put my pencil on the descender height, and I'm going to make a correct circle all the way around. And then I'm going to make an X height circle. Okay. And then I'm going to get the top of my ascender. This sounds complex, but once you've done it a couple times, it's really very much second nature. Okay. There we go. All right, now I have the proportional size I need to build that circular text. All right, so I'm going to make some measurements around half of the circle. Here we go. I'm going to make a dot every ½ inch, and it doesn't need to be perfect. ½ inch, ½ inch, ½ inch, ½ inch. Okay, so I'm making dots every ½ inch. Now, notice I'm only going to fill in half the circle. They don't need to be perfect. So what these are going to do is they're going to give you lines to help you stand your letters up straight, so all your letters look uniform and pretty. Okay. 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 I'm going to take the new dot I drew, and I'm going to run the ruler through the old center and go all the way across. I'm going to take the new dot I drew, connect the ruler to the old center, and go all the way across. You can see why I only needed to do half the circle, right? Because with this particular technique, I'm able to get lines through the whole circle. Okay. Why do I want these lines? These are tiny little X's. There's no way, little boxes. I can't fit a whole letter in there. No way, right? If I'm doing a big W, it's going to go over like 5 of those. That's okay. So I'm not fitting letters in there. But they're going to help me stand my letters up straight, straight, straight. And that's going to help me get that nice radial design I like. Make sure I'm going through the middle. Almost done. These lines do not need to be perfectly measured. They're just guidelines to help you keep the attitude of your letters consistent. So start with your first letter. Remember where your ascender and descender is. I'm going to draw my letters extra fat because a pencil is skinny and a nib is fat. So I'm going to move it as I go. Notice I am not trying to fit letters into boxes. I'm trying to space my letters. They're not trying to be perfect. And the beauty of doing this is in pencil is you can go backward. Now later you're not going to trace over these pencil lines. They're just there to let you know right now if your words will probably fit in here or probably not. Once you've got them all the way around and you know they're probably going to fit, use a real alphabet to help you remember how to make your letters. Don't go do your just normal student writing. Okay, I'm going to go for the W. And I can go outside of the lines if I want to. I'm going to start to build my letters in. And you get the point. And work your way around. All right. Later I'll put a graphic in here, and I can also use these guidelines to help me design my picture.